Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture. He's Michael Hamlet from WhatCulture. AEW All Out is this weekend and we are here to bring you our predictions, starting with, of course, the International Championship match between Will Ospreay and Pac. This is going to be a ripper.
Yes. Could it be too good? That's what I'm like. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining at excellence because I'm really not. But Will Ospreay versus Pac feels like yet another dream match that you want to cycle through since Will Ospreay signed for AEW. There's been none of the waiting around, none of the lost opportunities that we've had with some of the big stars over the years. But already, I'm kind of wanting to watch Will Ospreay versus Ricochet.
Yeah.
And might this outwork it? Like, Pac's attack on Will Ospreay was one of the best AEW moments of the year. It was a run-in Poison Rana. You don't get many of them. It was like kind of the perfect teaser for the sort of match they're going to have. Non-stop. I would maybe consider opening the show with this. Ospreay right now doesn't need to be near the main event. If anything, he kind of needs to be kept as far away from it as possible.
Yeah.
So you forget that he's in the picture. So I would maybe have this be the hot start to the pay-per-view. I'm starting to wonder as well if they strap Pac up here. It's 2 belts in 2 weeks for the Bastard. If only because everything's going really well in this new reformatted BCC, and Ospreay could maybe sell the War Wounds from the MJF match. He could sell the fact that maybe he's been running a little too hard as the international champion. I know he lost the belt to MJF, but he's kind of had this division, this area of AEW locked down since he was lifted down from the world title picture. So I wonder if Pac starts walking around with 2 belts, and this is like a nice reward for a guy that like a month ago looked like, as a result of factors out of his control, he was going to lose everything.
Yeah, I don't think he wins the title, unfortunately, because I do think, they're going to have... I think Ricochet's probably going to be the one to dethrone Ospreay after the highly anticipated match. Probably Wrestle Dream, if I'm guessing. I know they've got Grand Slam and stuff in the interim, but that feels like Wrestle Dream is the place to do it for that sort of match, and obviously that means Will Ospreay has to retain. I think Pac's going to come close, but now he's got the Trios title. I'm less concerned about him necessarily winning a title. And there's still intrigue of how the BCC and him sort of interact.
They could have more belts too.
Yeah. But I think Will Ospreay retains. I like the idea of this opening, although that's a hell of a bar for everyone else to clear, because like you say, very high expectation for this one. It just would feel weird for Will Ospreay to drop it after the big moment at Wembley.
True, yeah. In terms of following, that's wrestlers' problem.
I think if Ricochet hadn't debuted, I would have been more convinced that Will Ospreay might lose this match.
I think he appears here in some capacity regardless. If Ospreay wins, he stands on the ramp afterwards and makes it clear. Does the gesture wrestlers love to do about something like that. But if Pac was to win, Ricochet appeared to rush to Ospreay's side after the attack, so there's no heat right now between them. They're friends, theoretically, so I could see him featuring in some capacity after this match.
Moving on to our next match, we are talking about the Chicago Street Fight.
The where street fight?
Chicago Street Fight. The lovely Willow Nightingale and the despicable Kris Statlander. In storyline, of course. They're both great. I don't think this is going to be a good night for Willow.
Really?
No.
Okay. What makes you say that?
I think they're going to strap the rocket to Kris Statlander quite rightly.
All right.
CMLL, all that stuff.
Well, we're all for 2 in agreement with this.
Okay.
I think Willow Nightingale wins. But it's more about match quality, this one. Like, I think Willow will win, and obviously you think the opposite. However, Willow Nightingale's kind of become known for a number of things in AEW, but for just how good she is in the violence setting.
Yeah.
I think of the matches.
Weirdly. For such a lovely person.
It's sort of the perfect contrast, right? You think like, oh, she just wants to always smile through everything. She just wants to be seen as this positive figure, and yet she gets pushed, and then people get their asses kicked. Like you see bloodbaths, and like often they've been. What's great about this is that often they've been used by AEW for things like Rampage and Collision, which we all watch every week. But you especially need to tune in when Willow Nightingale's in like some sort of plunder brawl, and they've realised there's money in that.
Yeah.
So they put it on a pay-per-view. It's made this programme, it's made this Fued feel like a big deal. They could have easily had this at Wembley if they wanted to, but it's something that was maybe worth saving for the typical fiery Chicago atmosphere. I think Willow does win, but it's more what we're going to take away. It's going to like produce, considering what's in the main event and other things on this card, I think some of the most like striking visuals of the night. I would again run with this early, because you would expect the main event to get violent, and you don't want to almost like diffuse and dilute some of the stuff that they're going to do to each other in that match with what these two will do to each other as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Willow wins, like you say, and then that frees up Statlander to eventually have a rip her against someone like Mercedes or something down the line once she turns presumably back babyface once she gets rid of you-know-who in her corner. But it's been a load of fun, this story, this feud, and this weird combo of the three of them. So maybe I'm hoping Willow wins, but I could easily see Statlander just nicking it through shenanigans because it's a Chicago street fight. Or maybe Ishii's giving Willow some tips.
Best thing about this, no title. Like AEW 2024 success story, the women's division this year, finally. Like we're coming off the back of a Dynamite where there was yet again 2 women's matches. Ultimately, this could have had a belt involved, but they haven't felt the need. This has been an actual personal rivalry. And I just feel good about where AEW's women's division continues to be. It feels like off the back of this, whoever wins or loses, whichever one of us is correct, they're going to be in contention for one of the 2 titles.
Yes.
It's going to matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't just feel like they're trudging through the sludge.
No.
This is like, we've got to conclude our personal business so we can get back to like the professional pursuit of the title. This is how it should always be. And long may it continue.
Moving on. Another match that doesn't really need a belt.
No.
MJF versus Daniel Garcia. Who's getting their neck broken?
I honestly, I was pretty sure that MJF was going to win this. I'm
always sure, yeah.
Well, you've got personal biases.
I can't tell you the fact that I know the result of this match, what with him being my best friend, but...
To paraphrase a great man saying a great many things, 2 years ago to this very day, if you're a professional One True journalist, you should probably rule your relationships before you ask questions. I'm old, I'm tired, I'm sick of working with children. But yeah, I was thinking it was going to be MJF to win as a bit of a recovery job following his loss to Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
And indeed, like almost cheating to win would almost open the door for something more violent down the road between the two of them when, despite the fact that this is like the work of sort of several months of TV build, they're only just getting started physically. And then MJF bloodied him up something awful on Dynamite. And it sort of feels like Daniel Garcia has to win to prove a point. I really, really want this to be the one that sticks for Daniel Garcia. This run feels like it's finally getting him over that hump. It's not been for the want of trying, in spite of like the obvious criticism that you could levy at maybe the work with Chris Jericho and how things were just dropped cold. I think the intent of that was good before it disappeared. I think the intent of making him Dancing Daniel in his baggy pants was this idea of like, people are going to like just thirst for Red Death to return so much that it's going to be worth putting in the time. And then it all just got dropped and they kind of forgotten about it and it's been left to flounder ever since. Doesn't feel like that this time. This feels like the push that's going to stick. And I think in order to show commitment to that, you put Daniel Garcia over in a big, big way.
It would be very interesting to see how MJF deals with a losing streak effectively.
Another huge lot. Like Ospreay was about losing a match. He sort of had the belief in himself to win. In this one, it's overconfidence, and you've never really seen MJF have to bounce back.
You're right. Garcia needs to win more, and I'm normally a huge fan of Daniel Garcia. He's an absolute piece, great wrestler, but I can't bet against my best friend. So MJF to win. Snap his little neck whilst he's at it.
All right, okay.
Well, maybe a bit too far. Let's rapidly move on to the DBS Championship match. Hikaru, this graphic's wrong. Hikaru Shida versus Mercedes Mone with no Camille.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Any chance Shida dethrones Mone?
No, not a chance in hell. This feels very much like Hikaru Shida doing what she's often done in AEW, which is kind of like one of the perfect utility wrestlers. Carried the belt during the time of the pandemic, has been the nice opponent to slot in for wrestlers that either need a sort of a build-up feud or just like this, a kind of one-stop shop title match that can be done and dusted within 2 weeks.
Or a good title match, you know.
Well, yeah, that as well. There has been lots of less than positive feedback towards the match that Mercedes Mone had with Britt Baker at Wembley, and it feels like AEW and Mercedes and maybe everybody involved has moved quickly to try and erase memories of that. If this is one of the low-key highlights, this is as a card has got a lot of what AEW likes to be forward-facing with. A lot of strong in-ring action, a couple of really heated personal disputes that are going to be paid off with big big stipulation-heavy matches. This one's going to be all about the wrestling. Mercedes Mone, I think, will look to silence a few critics. In-ring work specifically. There's been nothing wrong with this build, but it's been too short to really invest in emotionally. It's going to be about the bell to bell. And there aren't many better on this roster than Shida. Guarantees are hard in pro wrestling, but almost guaranteeing you at very least a 3-star ceiling. Sorry, a 3-star floor, even if at the moment we don't know what Mercedes Mone's ceiling is.
Yeah, Obviously, with the lack of Camille, that opens more of an opportunity up to Shida to win the title, but I don't see it happening, unfortunately. No. Like you say, with such a short build, a lot of the matches, you don't anticipate title changes in as a result of that.
Yeah.
But I've no doubt that Shida is going to have a far better match with Mercedes than what happened at Wembley.
Well, we'll see. That's the question that people are going to be asking.
Yeah. Moving on to our next match. Next match. They haven't got a graphic for it, so I had to make do.
Right, yeah.
And I picked the most obvious.
I do not like that here, in the coverage of AEW, you have decided to trivialise Kazuchika Okada as a comedic character. I think that's unprofessional and misuse of the Rainmaker himself. I don't actually believe any of that.
No, it's a load of bollocks,
I'm sick of wankers talking shit on the internet.
Who's editing this?
Me now, wasn't it?
Sorry, Nicholas. I'm sick of them.
It's true.
It's a four-way.
Supposedly voices of this industry called wrestling.
Continental Championship, fatal four-way. The reason why we don't have a graphic is because, well, they don't know who's going to be in the match until after Collision.
Yeah.
There are 3 matches to determine who's going to be in it, so let me know who you think's going to be in it, and then who you think's going to win it.
Okay.
Orange Cassidy versus Bryan Keith, Lance Archer versus Mark Briscoe, and Konosuke Takeshita versus the Beast Mortis.
Well, I mean, it's all the 3 obvious winners that you listed there. It's Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Konosuke Takeshita. With great respect to, you've just said his name and yet I've already forgotten it. The guy with the big head of the monster.
Beast Mortis.
Thank you. With great respect to him and how awesome that match is going to be, by the way. Like a perfect TV match. This is Takeshita's route back onto pay-per-view. And
I'm so happy he's back.
Yeah, something bigger. I think he should run Okada the closest here and make it a tease of him ultimately winning the Continental Classic and it being the first sign that Okada's going to have to, like, in character at least, get serious. It's the first time he's going to realise he's got to kind of unleash the Rainmaker within, that he's kind of purposely trying to suppress because he's just enjoying kind of being this, like, nasty piece of work as part of the elite within AEW. Yeah. Takeshita's going to run him close. Okada's going to retain.
I think he's going to might steal it from Takeshita. Takeshita's going to do all the work. Thank you very much.
Yeah, like push him out the ring, take the pin, that kind of thing. But like the work will be good, the match will be good, but this is like thrown together, I guess, with the with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
For giving the Chicago crowd a great match, for giving Takeshita a spot on the card, for letting the magic of the conglomeration get a slot on the pay-per-view because there's nothing for them elsewhere right now. So yeah, Okada to retain.
I think Briscoe's going to have a great near fall in there as well.
Of course, yeah.
Actually, what am I talking about? Unfortunately, Konosuke Takeshita is not going to be even in this match. You remember Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan versus Edge at WrestleMania?
Yes.
He smashed him, stacked him, and pinned him. That's what the Beast Mortis does all with these 3 losers.
Beast Mortis to win the title.
Yeah, he wins the whole thing.
Fair enough, yeah. Why not?
Thanks for coming, Okada.
Probably wins a belt.
Love him so
Probably wins every belt.
The
belt Mortis.
Oh, here we go. The Young Bucks versus the BCC for the World Tag Team Championship.
Yeah, another late addition, but one that makes sense in light of what we saw with the main event and the overlap with Pac and Will Ospreay, and Will Ospreay, I guess sort of right now being need to be kept away from title stuff, from elite stuff. This was the only natural way to like get everybody back separated. I don't expect the BCC to win the titles here, and I don't love the booking, truthfully. You're beating the Trios champions realistically in order to preserve this Young Bucks title reign. It's like, it's weird. It's supposed to feel a little bit unearned, like we're being told that the reason for like the 100+ days, whatever it was, without the title defense is like an in-character choice. But then when the Young Bucks get out there, it's like they're still wrestling like the Young Bucks. Like they still had to fight to retain at Wembley Stadium in a triple threat match. They're still having to fight to retain here. If they're going to beat Claudio and Wheeler Yuta, they're going to have to do things the hard way. There is something worth noting, I think, as we record this, last night's Dynamite, this week's Dynamite, where Jon Moxley's loyalties were like confusing for the first time. He was kind of giving Jack Perry a bit of an attaboy, and then didn't come out to help when the BCC were being beaten up. So maybe this is the kind of like low-key furthering of that story.
Yeah.
Maybe like the Elite use the numbers game, and with Danielson otherwise engaged in the world title, the question is just made out loud by Excalibur. Like, where's Jon Moxley in all of this? And he's nowhere to be found in the Elite. Just cheats to retain that. Maybe at this point, like Okada's freed up and available to run interference to the Young Bucks, something like that. Like Brandon's farting around on the outside, and just somehow they steal it and like Jon Moxley is conspicuous by his absence, not doing right by his former boy.
Yeah, I hope that's the reason why they put this on. Because like you say, if they were going to just say, if you asked me yesterday, they're going to put a tag match on All Out, I'd genuinely rather not see a title defence. I'd rather see the grizzled young veterans go through FTR for me.
Grizzled young veterans, I like those guys, but I've noticed that like Zach stopped saying and seems to be recognised. Have they got like a new catchphrase?
Grit your teeth. And don't forget their other catchphrase, grit your teeth.
They're both really good. They're both good catchphrases.
I say, grit.
That's why I think Pac's winning, by the way. Like, beating all 3 trio champions in 2 separate title matches is not great luck, is it?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Next up, we have... the end of Bryan Danielson's career.
Hell of a run. Hell of a run, but Jack Perry's getting it done. If there's one thing I know about Jack Perry is that he wins fights. I like him now. I do. I like him now.
Yeah, right.
He's not ruffling his hair. I'm ruffling the hair of Probable Millionaire Pro Wrestling. You're doing your best, kid. I like this. Stars make fights and all that, and I think the chemistry on the night is going to do away with...
In Chicago.
It's going to do away with, in that city that you just definitely said, is going to do away with any of the criticisms of the booking of this, of the surprise nature, I guess, of Jack Perry getting the first shot at Bryan. Look, I feel like we say this a lot now. It is quite hard to book first challengers because invariably they lose. So how do you kind of left with the question, well, how do you book somebody convincing enough for that first title match, but not somebody that you necessarily rooting to win? If it was going to be Darby Allin at the Grand Slam, the problem would be, oh God, I was so glad to be at Wembley Stadium and see Bryan Danielson retain his title. Anyway, I'm kind of sick of you because I want Darby Allin to win the title.
Yeah.
That's like a really hard, like, sort of circle at square, isn't it? So this is it. This is the answer. This has folded together the remains of the BCC and the Elite, which potentially teases, I don't know, like Danielson in multi-mans against the Bucks, Danielson against Okada, maybe down the line. This Darby Allin, Jon Moxley thing, while Jon Moxley's loyalties are apparently now divided. There's a lot of moving parts that suddenly all came together on the Go Home Dynamite.
He pins Bryan Danielson. What's the problem here?
And that as well. Genuinely, and that as well. WWE are doing the same thing with Sami Zayn.
People are buying all out to watch Swerve and Hangman try and kill each other as well.
It's a semi-main event that doesn't have to take the pressure of that slot. It is weird now that we're in the era of Danielson loses and he retires that you're going to have weeks like this where it's like, that's not here then. This happened with Ric Flair in 2008. Like, this is no disrespect to someone like, like an MVP.
Yes.
But Flair worked him, and it was just like, oh, well, Flair's winning then.
And on a Tuesday night.
Exactly, yeah. So like, I like this story, but this is the reality of it too. And Jack Perry losing, I think, like losing a title match now in this guise is no shame, and I think it's something he can use when he's next in this position.
Yes.
And more likely to win. It can be spoken about that he kind of fell short against Bryan.
I know they've sort of moved away from everything.
Yeah.
How much do you lean into it here in Chicago? Does he come out and do it's clobbering time?
100%. Like, to be honest, I think doing like a CM Punk entrance when we talk about Jack Perry is a bit cheap. But all the same, like, just run your own race, Jack. But no,
keep an eye out for our live show dropping from All In Weekend, by the way. I just want to mention that. Just no other reason.
Not related.
I
can't see why you would have brought that up. I love this. Like, I honestly, like,
getting his flipping head kicked in.
He did this for New Japan in Chicago, and that plus the airing of the All In footage was key to Jack Perry finally clicking as a heel.
Any Elite shenanigans as well?
Probably. Again, we'll have seen a tag match earlier in the night, so we'll know the status of the belts and maybe how annoyed the Blackpool Combat Club are with the Elite. I would fully expect them. The Young Bucks outright said it this week. We want to bring the belt back into the Elite. It's a project for them at this point to get this title off Bryan Danielson. So I would expect a bit of nonsense as well. Danielson to win, obviously, but yeah, the heat should be amazing. I want Perry in the friggin' he's wearing the black jean tights, like white jeans with a Chicago flag with an X through it down the side, something like that. I don't know. Do the entrance if you want. Have his scapegoat head have the stars and bars on it. Do whatever the frig you like. Bury the city if it makes you happy.
I'd pull the referee in the way of a Busaiku knee when it looks like Danielson's got the match won, and then have Cutler come out. Hey!
Yeah.
Guess what I found lying around in the back, guys. And then just have Bryce Remsburg kick his ass.
Yeah, just boot him out.
Piss off, you.
Honestly, this can be all pro wrestling and then it can convert into bells and whistles nonsense. Like look at, and like weird comparison perhaps, but like Cody Roman from WrestleMania this year, where you've got a match followed by, right, time for the daft stuff. Like you can absolutely do both here, and it can be a lot of fun as a semi-main event.
Yeah, I think Danielson revealed his hand somewhat by saying on Dynamite last night as we recorded this, I've got some friends as well.
Yeah, that's it. And he thinks Moxley's one of those friends. And this is where we might see quite a development on that front as well.
Oh my God, I know what can happen. Okay. So he's got mates, obviously, and it's the elite, it's the power struggle. And what's Tony Khan really good at? The stomp. What if you get Jack Perry's end stomps on it? Like the Danielson stomp.
What, like Tony Khan does it? Great! He's taught it as a revenge act from one of the biggest heat angles of the year. Great. Well, there you go.
I've ruined it.
Spoiler.
That's not going to be the main event, though. But what is of course, well, not the steel cage match. That's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
Because TK's changed it. It's now an unsanctioned steel cage lights out match.
Why not? I'm into it.
I don't think one of them's going to survive.
No. We're all still recovering from the incredible angle on the Burn Home. Our Go Home edition of Dynamite. It was, this is the thing, there's a lovely sort of campaign going around of like, Hangman's done nothing wrong. I would disagree because he went for Karen Jarrett and he got what was coming to him at Wembley Stadium. That was the real point where he descended into the darkness. It wasn't setting fire.
Close personal friend of yours, Karen Jarrett.
Well, indeed, yeah, it wasn't setting fire at Swerve's house. The damage was already done, if you ask me.
His card was already marked.
Yeah, Hangman got on the dark path in London. But this can't miss, I don't think. This feud's been incredible. I think we are collectively as a fan base like rightfully adding this to the Hangman Kenny MJF Punk tier.
Right up there.
It's the like up there with some of the best things AEW have ever done. Their chemistry in ring has always been excellent. Like their chemistry was brilliant when it was simply a case of being a wrestling match.
Yes,
and the hatred
feels a long time ago.
Doesn't it just? And the hatred has only made it stronger. I would say that this is it for a bit between these two, which is all the more exciting in the build-up. It's never going to be definitive. Like they will fight down the line. I cannot tell you the day when they're going to team down the line. The mutual respect between these two is going to be as good as the burning down of the house and the blood in the mouth. But they have found themselves in a kind of, I would compare it to like a sort of TLC 2 situation of how do you top what's already come before? Like, the stipulation helps, of course. The cage is going to keep any sort of interference out. It is going to be bloody. It is going to be grisly. You're going to be seeing faces pushed through the mesh like a Play-Doh fun factory. And yet, I don't believe that Hangman Page will get his redemption even when he wins. I actually think he will be victorious.
Yeah, it's going to be that whole thing of like, why don't I feel better now?
Yeah. There's a famous cage match between Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard. Cage match? I quit. Anyway, he's got the stake of wood ripped from a chair and he's like jarring it into Tully Blanchard. All right, I quit. And Magnum TA is just in bits. He was like, it's like the original Why Am I So Violent, but it actually feels real.
Yeah.
And I think Hangman Page is one of the few people in wrestling that can actually pull off that without it feeling, well, like Rich Bloody Holland, basically. Why am I so violent? I've already just been to university. Hangman can do that stuff. He will win.
Yeah, Hangman's winning.
He will look upon the state of things and then realise he is no better off, he is no happier than he was for having gotten supposedly what he wants.
You assume they're going to stay in the steel cage. What if Hangman at one point gives a signal and a horse is tied to the side of the steel cage, runs off, rips out a side of it, that allows them to get out, go to the top, and it can throw Swerve off the top. Because that's all I can think that they're going to do that's more insane than what they've already done.
I'm sorry, I'm just picturing the idea of a horse ripping the side of the cage off. And it's like...
You can keep the horse at ringside. Horse comes out, horse just sticks around ringside as a...
Naturally,
or whatever.
It's a black horse like the Lloyd's Bank one because he's turned to the Jake.
And then halfway through, he pulls out like what they call them branding things like, oh bloody hell, shoved up my arse, and then runs off.
What about this? The horse pulls the side of the cage away, and then they do this sort of outside the cage stuff for a bit. Then twist. They're wrestling like in a 3-sided cage, but the horse turns babyface because Prince Nana's now with the jockey. And it rides it back to the ring and it kicks Hangman Page in the face. And Hangman Page is like, no, you were my horse. And it's like, we said we'd take everything for you. We've now taken your horse. And then they both ride off into the sunset.
You are my lovely, lovely horse. And then you got another Swerve song to come out.
Yeah.
Swerve's horse.
Swerve when I ride. Swerve when I gallop.
I just want that. I want that nana. It's going to be terrifying, this match, but it's going to be a hell of a main event.
Introduce a new belt, call it the Grand National Championship.
Oh, great, another belt. Let us know your thoughts on this match, on the whole card. Serious thoughts only, of course. In the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe.
In Kentucky for the Derby.
Enjoy All Out. We'll bring you all the fallout from it in the coming days as well, of course. But for now, why not check out this video right here. Bye.